Hello, everyone, and welcome into Fridays with Phil. I'm Dr. Phil Mayo. I decided this week to step back from our consideration of the trumpet interlude to address the subject of expectations in the book of Revelation. Some years ago, I was invited to preach a sermon on Revelation, knowing that most people anxiously await a sermon on Revelation to provide them with the juicy details of how Revelation can be used to interpret our times. I decided to disabuse everyone who might have this idea by telling them that I had not come to provide a prophetic key to Revelation that would interpret our current times. Two people promptly got up and walked out. Revelation, like all apocalyptic literature, delivers its message through often bizarre images. This fact has led many interpreters down a path of believing that if somehow we could unlock the meaning of these images, we could place Revelation next to the daily news and interpret our times. This is a misunderstanding of the genre and a misinterpretation of the book. This trend comes from the belief that we are living in the last days and that Revelation speaks, among other things, of the end time. However, we should remember that we have been living in the last days since the resurrection of Jesus. Yes, Revelation speaks of the end time, but it addresses so much more than that. Apocalyptic literature was produced by communities under duress. The Jews first wrote apocalyptic works while suffering under the Greeks and later the Romans. Like John, they too used images to deliver messages to their beleaguered communities. Their intention was to offer hope and to underscore the faithfulness of God. So what does all this mean? Revelation does in fact speak to our time, but it's the same message spoken to the churches in the first century. That is the message we are looking to uncover. Revelation was written to offer hope to the first century believers and to encourage them to persevere. It still does that today. It tells them that God knows about their suffering and that he will do something about it. Revelation is responding to two questions asked with the opening of the fifth and sixth seals. The first is asked by the suffering believers. How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood? And the second is asked by the inhabitants of the earth, for the great day of God's wrath has come, and who can withstand it? The rest of Revelation unfolds along these two lines: the destiny of God's people and the judgment of the inhabitants of the earth. God's people do suffer in Revelation because of Satan's work on the earth. The agents of Satan are the ruling authorities and systems, both economic and social, that govern the earth. The ultimate destiny of these systems is destruction, as is metaphorically described in Revelation 18 with the destruction of Babylon. God causes sinful humanity to implode. That is, these world systems destroy themselves with the instigation of satanic forces. Look at Revelation 17. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to hand over to the beast their royal authority until God's words are fulfilled. With each set of the seven seals, the seven bowls, and the seven trumpets, God's wrath increases simply by allowing sin to reach its ultimate end. At the end of the sixth trumpet, John writes, the rest of humanity who were not killed by these plagues still did not repent. Humanity is only receiving the result of their own sinful practices and their refusal to acknowledge God. Revelation pulls back the veil to show us the real reality, the conflict between God and Satan, in which God's people are pawns. However, Revelation is clear that God is in control and that Satan is simply spiraling toward his end. God's people have an end that is certain and glorious. The struggle to interpret every single image takes on less importance when we understand the global message. Most of the images, numbers, and periods of time are symbolic and are not intended to be taken literally. They are simply the vehicle of the overarching message. How then do we relate Revelation to our time? The ever-increasing destruction we see in our world today is the direct result of humanity's sinfulness instigated by demonic forces. The biblical authors are unanimous that the world will get worse before it gets better. The hope we have is the return of Christ. The promise we have, even when things look dire, is that God is in control. Revelation tells us that God has a plan for the world revealed in Jesus Christ and initiated through his work on the cross. His followers must simply remain faithful to the end. It is in this context that we read Revelation. Next week, we'll begin discussing the trumpet interlude. Won't you join me? Thank you, and God bless you.